is Comedy Club. You know, it's weird. I never thought I'd have my own comedy club, but then I never thought I'd have to wash my hands 40 times a day or ration my pasta either, so swings and roundabouts. But I'm not doing this on my own, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I brought along someone who's going to bring us some laughs, some energy and some game-changing tracksuits. He's here every week. I'm thrilled to say he's my new best friend. It's Mawaan Rizwan, ladies and gentlemen. There he is. Mawaan, I'm loving spending some time with you. Of course, Mawaan's a comedian. I know you're an actor. I've seen you acting. You're very good at that as well. But you DJ. Now, where have you DJed? Who do you DJ for?
OK, you know Elton John?
Of course I know.
Yeah, well, I got a mate, 𝗜𝗳𝗄𝗯, yeah? And his girlfriend's stepdad's neighbour is Elton John's driver. Right. Cut a long story short, I've DJed at 𝗜𝗳𝗯's house party.
Pretty good. Mawaan Rizwan, ladies and gentlemen. OK. Now, you can see we're all social distancing here in the studio, and everyone who's watching the show here has to wear a mask. So on the way in, we gave the audience a choice of a mask with either a cat on or a dog on. We thought we'd do a social experiment and settle once and for the debate, are we a nation of cat lovers or dog lovers? So let's have a look at the audience, put the lights up. Well, the results are in, and it turns out nobody gives a shit. We're really trying to capture the vibe of a new comedy club, so as well as the amazing new acts, we've got some more established faces dropping in to try out new material every week on the show, just to show their support. And tonight, we have a comedian who's the answer to the question, what would it look like if Boris Johnson and 𝗰𝗵𝗆 had a baby? It is, of course... Of course, seeing as you don't know I'm going to say yet, that's just a weird thing to say, isn't it? It's Rob Beckett, ladies and gentlemen. There he is. What a good-looking young man.
Thank you very much.
So, Rob...
Yes. Do you know what? I wouldn't put it past Boris to have a child with 𝗰𝗵𝗆.
He probably doesn't even know.
No, that's why he doesn't know how many he's got.
Well, but I know you've been admiring my cane when I walked out.
I love your cane.
Now, this isn't just to give me extra swag. This is a COVID cane. I've got
is
this
it?
because I wanted to make sure we were at a safe distance from each other.
Whoa.
How about that?
It looks like it's showbiz snooker.
I mean, it's longer than normal, but you've got the look of a super spreader about you, so I want to keep you away from it.
That's great, that is. Disco snooker, you could start a new genre. To be fair, over 3 years, you'll need it to walk.
Yeah. He's here all night. He'll be performing at the end of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rob Beckett. So let's bring our first act on stage. I think he's probably the UK's only Kurdish professional stand-up comedian. It is the fantastically funny Mr. Kae Kurd.
Hello! How you guys doing? You all right? You know what? I knew this year was going to be weird, right? Because I started off the year in Dubai. I thought, let me treat myself. I went on a holiday to Dubai. I was there on the beach, right, enjoying my life or whatever. I get a text from one of my mates, Adam, he's a comedian as well. He's like, Kae, come on, lad, World War III's kicking off. I was like, what's he on about, bruv, right? Like, and I did what anybody from my generation would do, right, in a crisis. I went on Twitter, innit? Do you know what I mean? No, because, like, if I'm about to die, there might be a meme that will cheer me up, innit? Do you know what I mean? And I get another message from Adam going, Kae, the situation's about to escalate rapidly. Get home, right? No, I was like, what's he on about, right? Like, so I checked out the BBC News, right, and I checked out the headline. It was like, Iran threatens to attack Dubai. I was like, listen, these memes ain't funny, bruv, right? And it got me... I started thinking about World War III in detail. I was like, is my generation ready for war, right? And I was like, nah. Like, if a war was to kick off tomorrow, we're done for, bruv. Not me, I'm a bad man, but like you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like... But I was like, we can't fight a war. My generation can't fight a war. They take half of us out with gluten. Like, do you know what I mean? They don't even need to, like, drop bombs. They'll just drop blue top milk over the front lines, right? We'll just be shitting everywhere, right? Just arguing about where the gender-neutral toilets are, bro. Do you know what? Like, during lockdown, I thought to myself, you know what? Like, I'm doing well in life, right? Let me buy a fridge, right? No, that's what you do as an adult, innit? You flex with a fridge, right? Like, because I've got a white fridge at home, innit? And if you've got a white fridge, you're poor, right? Like, you just... Nah, it's true, man. Like, listen, any one of you, right? Like, if you go into your kitchen and there's a white hot point staring back at you, yeah? You've got work to do, innit, right? No one wants a white fridge. Who wants a white fridge? That's why you cover it up with your kids' paintings and stuff, right? Do you know when you know you've made it in life? You know when you get one of them grey or silver fridges, right? That dispense ice. Oh, my days. Remember the first time you saw one of those? Huh? It wasn't at your house, was it? So I went into Curry's, right? I'm going up to the fridges, right? I look at the fridges. I want to see this nice black one I like, right? And a guy comes over to me and goes, "Oh, sir, I see you've seen our smart fridge." was like, hold on, what's a smart fridge, bruv? He's like, well, this one, sir, it connects to the internet. I was like, listen, the last thing I need when I come home from work is my fridge asking me for the Wi-Fi password, bruv, right? He's like, no. What happens is it will send you a text message when you need something, right? I looked at him dead in the eyes and I was like, bruv, I'm not married for a reason, right? I don't want to be out with a lad. Suddenly I get a text message and I'm like, oh, God. My friend's like, is that the fridge again? What have I told you about that, bruv, right? When you're with the lads, put your phone away, all right? So I turn my phone off, innit? I'm on a night out, I'm having it up, like, lads, all of that, right? Yeah. Comes to the end of the night, one of my mates gone off to get a kebab or whatever. I turn my phone back on, 10 missed calls. All from my fridge. I'm trying to work out what to do, right? Like, she's texting me, like, you know, when are you home? Where are you? All this sort of stuff, right? So now I know I'm gonna get shouted at if I go back home, right? So I'm trying to sneak in to my own home. Because of my fridge, bruv, right? Do you know how scary this is, right? I'm opening the door, I'm trying to be quiet, right? Suddenly in the back, it's like, where's the milk? What? What are you talking about? I said, I'll get it tomorrow. That's what you said yesterday. Like, what are you on about, man? Why can't you be like the kettle, man? Like, she's crying my eyes out, right? So I know why you don't listen to me. Why? It's because I'm black. No. Listen, you guys, my name's Kae Kurd. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Kae Kurd, ladies and gentlemen. Brilliant, Kae Kurd. Let's get our next act out. I love a funny song. I pissed myself at that celebrity cover version of Imagine, but of course they weren't trying to be funny. I love our next act who are doing it on purpose. Will you please welcome the brilliant Flo Joan?
Hello. It's lovely to be here. We're Flo and Joan. One of the questions that we get asked the most is, are you really real sisters? So we've written those people a song. Yes. We've got time for just one more.
Yeah, this song was inspired by a McDonald's campaign you might have seen, which posed the question, is a Big Mac with bacon in it still a Big Mac? There's a world that we all live in, and that world is called the world. And it's a fascinating place, I'm sure you'll find.
There's so much yet to discover, so many things that we don't know,
Which leaves us with all these questions on our mind. Like when you crush a clove of garlic, what happens to its dreams? What do colourblind people eat when they're told to eat their greens? Is it alright to not go outside because I haven't shaved my armpits? And is it alright to not shave my armpits so I don't have to go outside? Why are posh people taller? How do you make a career in blogging? Why are Mars bars getting smaller? What do dogs think of dogging? Why does Sambuca make me sexy? Why does gin make me cry? Why does vodka make me Russian? Why does beer make me shit myself? If you haven't watched from episode 1, are you really a fan of the news? Would men still fancy women if we farted out our boobs? And why do old people wake up so early when there's nothing to do in their days? And why does everybody always do what Simon says?
Now we're all gonna play Simon Says. Simon Says, put your hands on your head. Do it. Simon Says, put your hands in your ears. Is that your ears?
Now take your clothes off. Take your clothes off. We've locked the doors, so take your clothes off.
Wait, Simon didn't say it, so you don't gotta do it.
But don't let me stop you. When people go into a toilet, why do they always stop to say, it smells like piss in here? Of course it does, it's where you piss. Am I still a feminist if I think the Queen has got great tits? Are we really stronger together? Have the Kardashians ruined women forever? Are slugs just shellless snails, or are snails just slugs with shells? But most importantly of all,
Is a Big Mac with bacon in it still a Big Mac?
who fucking cares?
Rob Beckett still in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you know, I've loved Rob ever since I saw him. I followed your career from the start, as you know, and I've always liked you. Best gig you ever did, worst gig you ever did?
The worst gig I ever did was literally yesterday.
Well, that bodes well for the end of the show, then.
No, well, I was OK, but it was an outdoor gig in Gravesend, right? The rain was horrific. They couldn't hear or see me. If someone doesn't get trench foot, I won't be surprised. I got heckled by someone shivering. So, yeah, those outdoor gigs because of the guidelines.
Rob Beckett will be performing for us at the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Rob Beckett is here now. Now, before we get to our next case, let me tell you that Mawaan here is a man of many talents. Earlier on, I mentioned that he acts, he DJs, but you also write and perform songs as well, don't you? What kind of stuff inspires you to write a song?
I guess, like, my hardships and stuff.
Yeah? Like what?
Like how I've never been skiing.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you want to hear it?
I would like to hear that.
Yeah, never been skiing. Cause it ain't a holiday if you got a new exercise, you get me? I heard it's really expensive. I heard you break your back. I heard it's really cold. I heard your lips get chapped. I heard you slip and look like a dickhead. I ain't no dickhead. I heard you have to sleep in a chalet. What's a chalet? Ain't that an onion? Never been skiing. Never been skiing. Never been skiing. Never been skiing. You might be saying YOLO, but I'll be saying no, bro. I'll live slow, I'll die old, cause I don't wanna break my neck, my back, my crack. Why would I risk my life like that? I got a mate, his name is Matt. Went off peace and broke his back. All the king's horses, all the king's men. Couldn't put Matt together again. Packed his bag, came right back. What a twat, he didn't even have insurance. Never been skiing. Never been skiing. Okay, fine, I went once and I fucking loved it.
Mawaan Rizwan, ladies and gentlemen. That's a great song. OK, let's get our next act out. You're going to be seeing a lot more of her. She is the very funny Sophie 𝗵𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃. Come on, Sophie.
Hello! I want to talk about family tonight. I learnt about family from a popular lift-sharing app. And when I say the phrase lift-sharing app, I mean the specific app that rhymes with tuba. When you book, the app gives you 3 verifications, so you get 3 things. You get a name, a face, and a star rating. But last year, I got a surprise. 2 out of these 3 things was fine. My star rating was high, my face was friendly, but my driver's name harrowed me, because when I got my Uber driver's details through, my driver's name was Daddy. I looked at my phone. All that I knew is there was a black man called Daddy, and he was coming for me. And that throws up a lot of complicated emotions for a girl from a single-parent family. Because on the one hand, Daddy is coming in 6 minutes, great. On the other, 6 minutes is not enough time to prepare everything that I have to say. And then the stakes get higher. It's like, Daddy will wait for 2 minutes before driving off. And I'm like, no, Daddy, not again, no! My father is alive, just quite distant, whereas my mother and I are quite close geographically. It wasn't just my mum growing up, though. I was lucky. I had lots of aunties. Do you guys know aunties?
Yeah.
You don't. I think for you, an auntie is probably a female sibling of one of your parents.
That's right.
For me, an auntie was basically any woman whose presence I couldn't reasonably explain in my home. Strange woman making stew, auntie. Strange woman on the sofa, auntie. Strange woman all in black on a rocking chair, auntie, or a ghost. I have upwards of 50,000 aunties. And I know some of you thinking, oh, maybe an auntie's like a friend of the family. No. An auntie is basically any middle-aged West African woman with whom I accidentally make eye contact. Aunties are very sophisticated. My aunties and yours are currently communicating through the aid of new technologies, aka WhatsApp. Or as my aunties like to call it, what's up? Because my aunties are allergic to puns. One of my aunties used WhatsApp for something very unorthodox last year, matchmaking. She sent me a WhatsApp message I will never forget. It read, "Good morning, Soph. How are you? Someone told me to tell you that they are madly in love with you so much." Now, the first rule of Auntie WhatsApp is do not engage in Auntie WhatsApp. But it's a Monday morning, I was lonely, I was tired, I thought, you know what, I'll throw her a bone, I'll throw her a question mark. Nothing. And then in the 5 or 6 minutes that passed, I thought maybe someone really has got in touch with my auntie and told her that they are madly in love with me.
so much. Maybe they are so madly in love with me that they went to the person I would least expect, and if I miss out on this, I could be missing out on love. So at 9:19, I replied to my auntie, who? And auntie replies, not missing a beat, Jesus. Do not negotiate with terrorists!
Sophie Duke, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Sophie. OK, I'm really excited about the next part of the show. One of the things I loved most about going to comedy clubs was the open mic spot, because it was a great chance to see the stars of the future. So each week, we're going to be giving you a taste of some of the great stand-up talent that is breaking through on the comedy club circuit right now. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Leo Wyke?
Oh, my God, thank you. I'm Leo, and I'm kind of toying with the idea of joining a religion. But my problem is that the only, real link to a religion that I have is to Judaism. My family's Jewish, and I feel like it might be a mistake to, throw myself into my Jewishness in the midst of this sort of global throwback Thursday to 1939. Because, there do seem to be a lot of Nazis kicking around, which, don't get me wrong, is vintage, but... I do also think, maybe part of the reason there are so many Nazis around at the moment is people have sort of forgotten exactly why the Nazis were bad. And I say this because my American friend visited me before lockdown, and I was showing her around London. And at some point, she turned to me, and she was like, you know, if it weren't for us, you'd all be speaking German. I was like, something has gone very wrong. If you think that the worst thing that would have happened if Hitler had won the war would have been the linguistic shift. As if the British Jews would be sort of marched off to their deaths, all the English people going, lucky bastards. At least they have to learn fucking German. So many tenses. That's the real crime against humanity. I've been Leo Reich. Thank you.
Very funny. Thank you, Leo. It's the wonderful Sook Ojla.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sook, which is short for Sukhjeet, which is Sanskrit for you're never going to find it on a fucking keyring in a gift shop. Like a lot of successful women my age, I live in a house share. With my parents. It's essentially like living in the most passive-aggressive Airbnb of all time, except you can't even leave them a bad review. Decor outdated, furniture covered in plastic, host keeps trying to feed me whilst giving me weight loss advice, 2 stars. I had quite a different childhood to a lot of my friends growing up, because we didn't have a lot of money. You know, we didn't really get to go on holidays. I used to dread going to school after the 6 weeks holidays, because all the white kids would be like, we went to the Costa del Sol. All the well-off Asian kids would be like, we went to Canada to see my cousins. And I'd be like, well, we all took the coach up to Bradford. And I had to just sit indoors and watch whatever my uncle had recorded off the telly. And amazingly, the most depressing part of that sentence isn't the word Bradford. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been absolutely fantastic. I've been so cultured. Thank you so much.
Good thanks for that, ladies and gentlemen. Time for our final act of the evening, one of the most popular stand-ups in the country. I'm really excited that he's here to perform and support the show. I'm a huge fan. I'm sure you are as well. It is the fabulous Mr. Rob Beckett, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Oh, it's exciting to be back gigging, isn't it? Corona's gone on, isn't it? Remember Tiger King? I feel like it came out in 1993, do you? I swear I've got that on VHS at my mum's. Schofield came out as gay. I forgot, did you? He's going to have to do it again. I don't think other people know. I think it's gone. The mask. You've all got masks on. I've been wearing my mask, going to the shop and stuff. Anyone sneezed in the mask yet?
Oh, yeah.
Humiliating, isn't it? You don't know what to do. You go to get your hand out, your mask's already there. There's no point. You can't sneeze into a mask with a hand in front of the mask. It's disgusting. It's like you've meshed yourself. Oh, God. That'll be just there now while I do my weekly shop. Literally just transporting potential corona around the aisles. I've been judging the hand sanitizer. Don't know what else. There's a couple of types there with a hand sanitizer. The stinger. You had the stinger. You don't know you've got a little cut in your hand, do you, until you have the stinger. Oh, my God, it's like washing it in acid. You've got no chance. The lubey one. You've had the lubey one. The lubey hand sanitizer never goes, does it? Never goes. Wandering around the shop like you're looking for a bargain. What you're interested in, sir? Nothing, just trying to get this dry. Lou, we're gonna have to go home, I can't get it off. So it's great when you're touring, doing comedy. I went to random places around the UK. The places I've been to do gigs, I swear the promoter makes them up. I've done gigs in Coalville, Much Wenlock, Buff Wells. Places I've never heard of before or since. But I've been... I did a gig in a place called 𝗬𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗶. Anyone? No. Devon, apparently. I got the train to Barnstaple, right? I went to the cab driver. I went, hello, mate, I need to go to 𝗬𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗶. He went, never heard of it. I went, well, we're fucked. If you don't know, who does? 50-minute drive from Barnstaple, OK? For the first 5 minutes, there were houses, they're just fields, right? Just fields, of, not even any animals in it, they'd left as well. Nothing. No one. Didn't see an house for 40 minutes, turned a corner, it was a theatre. It was full, God knows how, there was no one around it. So they come out the woods, shuffled down trees like the end of fucking Bigfoot. I mean, what a place name, 𝗬𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗶. 𝗬𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗋 sounds like what a northerner says when they prematurely ejaculate. Oh, no. 𝗬𝗂𝗯𝗀. You've been lovely. Thank you so much, Anthony. Be lucky. I'm Rob Beckett.
Thank you, Rob. Rob Beckett, ladies and gentlemen. The brilliant Rob Beckett. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. That's it for this week. A big thank you to all of our acts tonight. Have a good week. Good night, everyone.